Well, roughly a week ago, I had reported on that Windsor could possibly have a recount for the recent election in its riding. After losing by about 77 votes, a Liberal had filed for a judicial recount. And now we're getting news that apparently ballots were rejected at the Windsor riding. Ballots should not have been rejected. Windsor judge orders recount of election results. We go further into the article here. Ballots should not have been rejected. Those are where the problems lie, Hewitt said, advising the court that 536 votes were dismissed by Elections Canada employees. And if we go even further, it actually appears that there will be recounts taking place in 4 tightly contested federal ridings. We saw about a week ago that Terrebonne had originally been called for the Liberals the day after the votes were cast, but the riding flipped back to the Bloc during a validation process. And right now, a recount is also taking place in the riding of NL Terra Nova the Peninsulas, where the Liberal candidate won by 12 votes. And on Friday, obviously, the Windsor-Tecumseh Lakeshore riding, where a Conservative won by 77 votes. And there also appears to be a recount happening in Milton East, Halton Hills South. So these recounts will begin next week, and the one in Windsor will begin on May 20th. All I can actually think of right now, with 20% of the vote casted, the mainstream media, legacy media, instantly called a Liberal victory without hesitation. 20% of the vote counted. Now we're learning that ballots were rejected, they weren't counted properly, maybe there were issues, they didn't get them on time. 4 ridings had to be recounted and are now flipping and could possibly give the Liberals a closer majority than before, or they could lose more seats. Only time will tell. I do not think the recounts here will give the Liberals enough seats. It is 1 seat off from a majority government, so if they do win every seat here, they still would not gain a majority, but they would only be that much closer, 1 or 2 seats, literally. We have a few examples here of why these ballots or these votes were not counted. Another ballot was rejected because of a check for the People's Party of Canada candidate. Nick Babbitt had a tail that moved down into the circle below, so it wasn't counted because of that. I mean, these are humans counting the ballots, and they're just ignoring them or tossing them aside because of a small tail that reached down. It's not like it's a machine and won't be able to read the ballot because of that. In another example, 2 people counting the votes at one poll couldn't get the total number of votes to balance with the total number of ballots issued. Sounds like Trudeau may have been counting at that poll, especially when it comes to balancing and numbers. I mean, across the board, it just seems like this was an absolute nightmare. Probably the biggest election for our country, and they're still counting ballots for it. They rejected ballots. They messed up the process. That's literally what it comes down to. And now they're admitting it. They're coming out. They are recounting certain ridings because of this major screw up. The Canadian government at its finest. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that sub button if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.